Given the expectations entering this season and how bad the NFC South remains, if the Buccaneers lose Saturday, there is a good argument to be made. It is the worst in-season collapse in franchise history, and given that fact, many are wondering, does Todd Bowles return next season? Let's start with what we are hearing. According to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, someone who is tapped into the Buccaneers, he said this week, quote, Todd Bowles' buyout would be hefty after the team extended his contract through 2028, and the team doesn't seem overly eager to pay that. Then there was this report from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network before the Miami Dolphins game.
So let me answer some questions before they begin. Todd Bowles received a 3-year contract extension before the season. He is under contract through 2028. They've won 3 straight division titles and still have a possibility of winning their 4th. Does that, Rich, sound like someone who should be in trouble? I would say certainly not.
On top of that, 2 Ring of Honor members, Rondé Barber and Bruce Arians, have both said recently they don't think Bowles is a lock to get fired. So despite all the negative noise around this team, there is smoke Bowles could be here in 2026. How could that be possible despite the potential of losing 8 of their final 9 games? Well, let's dig a little deeper because Jeremy Fowler mentioned money. Historically, this is a franchise that spends around the salary cap number. Unless Tom Brady is walking through that door again, ownership isn't likely to spend in the top half of the league. So they already know Bowles can work within those confines and provide a high floor. Now, underneath ownership is Jason Light. Let's talk about the defensive free agent moves he has made since 2022, when Todd Bowles took over. Hakeem Hicks, Keanu Neal, Greg Gaines, Ryan Neal, Jordan Whitehead, Randy Gregory, Hassan Reddick, and Anthony Walker Jr. Objectively, not his best work. Now let's talk about the NFL draft. Here are the investments he has made in the defense since 2022. Logan Hall, Zion McCollum, Kalijah Cansey, Yaya Diaby, Servassier Dennis, Josh Hayes, Jose Ramirez, Chris Braswell, Tyke Smith, Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, David Walker, and Elijah Roberts. That's not even factoring in the 2021 draft, which featured Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and KJ Britt. Look, he's tried to fix these issues. There's also some good in there along with uncontrollable injury issues. But is it a big surprise this team is hurting in the defensive front 7? And considering how quickly the Bucs are forcing QBs to get rid of the ball, you must wonder why there hasn't been a more concerted effort to fix the linebacker position next to an aging Levante David. So that's another factor for Todd Bowles. Your general manager is culpable for some of the defensive deficiencies personnel-wise. And let's be honest, even in 2022, when Bowles was gifted Tom Brady's final season, that squad was a mess. He didn't even get to hire his own coaching staff. The franchise was supposed to go into a complete rebuild. When Dave Canales took over as offensive coordinator, he was the 10th interview. No one wanted the gig. Bowles was viewed as a lame duck coach. But despite the salary cap issues and the Glazer family pulling back on spending, Bowles led this team back-to-back winning seasons. It's also worth mentioning in 2024, the starting defense never played one snap together. And in 2025, the same can be said about the offense. Finally, right now, there is no slam dunk offensive hotshot candidate out there. There is no Ben Johnson. There is no Liam Cohen. So the Glazer family has to ask if the delta between Todd Bowles and whoever else they would hire is worth it. So if Todd Bowles stays, all of that is likely baked into the reasoning. Now let's talk about why the majority of fans want him gone. First off, the obvious. This was a collapse of epic proportions. Also, the team will move backwards by 2 or 3 games in the win column based on what happens in the home finale. Second, the defense has failed to turn a corner. Per Sumer Sports, when Bowles took over, the unit ranked 14th in EPA per play in non-garbage time situations. In 2023, 19th, last year 24th, this year 21st. In 2022, the rushing defense was tied for 15th in yards per rush attempt against. Was a top 10 unit last 2 seasons, now tied for 17th. Defensive completion percentage, ranked 17th in 2022, has been a bottom 10 unit since. Since Todd Bowles took over as head coach, the Bucs have been a bottom 10 unit in opponent passer rating every season. Since Todd Bowles took over, despite the dearth of talent in the trenches, his team always ranked top 10 in sacks, currently ranked 18th. This could change in Week 18, but since 2022, the Bucs have never ranked in the top 10 for takeaways. This is also a man, dating back to the Jets, who has always had disastrous losing streaks in the middle of a season. In his 8 years as head coach in the NFL, he has a stretch of losing at least 4 or 5 games. With the Bucs, it's at least 5 of 6 games. If he loses on Saturday, we are talking about a coach who is 500 after 4 seasons. That doesn't include his 1-3 playoff record. If we include the postseason, and again assuming they lose on Saturday, he is 35-37. That would mean when playing teams who made the playoffs, he is 11-21 with Tampa Bay. In terms of his in-game management, the organization already told us what they think of it when they made him hire a director of football research in the offseason. He's shown flashes of growth this year, but during this losing streak, and especially in the first game against Carolina, you can see his old ways starting to creep into the game plan. He also tends to be loyal to his staff, which is admirable. But it's reasonable to ask why more changes haven't been made with the special teams and defensive units, considering the performances. And for those who want to point to the NFC South titles like Ian Rappaport, this division has had one wild card team in the last 8 years. That was Tampa Bay in 2020. Finally, do the Glazers really want to tick off their fan base, keeping him around? In what world are fans going to be excited for the 2026 season? So if they don't fire Bowles, then they're going to have to invest heavily in the roster to give him one last shot, or else it's a waste of time. And even if you invest heavily in the roster, are you getting the coaching staff you want? Because Bowles will still be viewed as a lame duck coach if things go south again. As a head coach and as a defensive coordinator, he is going to have to prove to the Glazer family he has a clear plan to fix what is going wrong. And it's tough to know if he can sell them in that process. So here's me editorializing. Tampa Bay has talent. Assuming everyone is healthy in 2026, the offense is loaded. That's a top 5 unit. How do I know that? Well, Liam Cohen proved what is possible. And he didn't even have a guy like Emeka Egbuka. If this job opened, I think it would be a highly desirable position because it is not a rebuild. The defense needs work. Don't get me wrong, but it is fixable. We'll see what happens, but the Glazer family and Jason Licht have a critical offseason coming up with plenty of tough decisions ahead, Todd Bowles being the first one.